afternoon, my Nutty fans. Okay, I shouldn't say that because it probably sounds like I was being rude out of context. Sorry about that. But anyways, if you couldn't tell by the title and thumbnail, I'm gonna be sharing my thoughts on a movie that I haven't seen in a long time, called The Nutty Professor. And yes, that is actually Eddie Murphy as Sherman Klump, aka the Nutty Professor himself. And I know you guys have got pointed this out in the comments below that this is actually more of a remake to the classic 1960s film starring Jerry Lewis, which I have seen the Nostalgia Critic doing old versus new on the Nutty Professor movies, which I will leave a link to that in the description below. But anyways, moving on. If you guys have already seen this version of the Nutty Professor at some point, or at least some of you being like big fans of Eddie Murphy, then I honestly don't blame you for already knowing what this movie is. But just in case you guys don't know what this movie is all about, have no fear, because there's always going to be a description on the back of each VHS tape and DVD that I own. Get ready to exercise your funny bones as Eddie Murphy, playing no less than 7 roles, gives the performance of his career in uproarious Jekyll and Hyde comedy from Imagine Entertainment. Murphy stars as shy Dr. Sherman Klump, a kind, brilliant, calorology challenge genetic professor. Sorry if I said that wrong. It's spelled Calorically. When the beautiful Carla Purdy, if I'm saying that, Putri, played by Jada Pinkett, joins the university functionally, Sherman grows desperate to Whiteley his 400-pound frame down to size to win her heart. So, with one swig of his experimental fat-reducing serum, Sherman becomes Buddy Love, a fast-talking, pumped-up, pulp-down John Doe. But both the Portion and Buddy proves to be uncontrollable. Oh boy. And Sherman discovers he has created a monster. Can Sherman stop his buffed alter ego before it's too late, or will Buddy have the last laugh? Boasting incredible special effects, a super soundtrack, and co-starring James Coburn, Larry Miller, Dave Chappelle, and John Elise, this hilarious hit is worth its weight in fun. Now, like I said a few minutes ago, it has been way too long since I've seen The Nutty Professor starring Eddie Murphy. So I'm guessing I'm technically watching it again for the very first time. And I almost forgot how dang hilarious it is. It's a great remake. It has an interesting story with a beginning, middle, and end. A fantastic cast of characters, especially Eddie Murphy playing Sherman Klump, and Jada Pinkett as Carla Purdy. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. A great music soundtrack, great special effects, and man, oh man, did I actually crack up multiple times. I know this is supposed to be like a comedy, but man, this is like the most This is the nuttiest. This movie was just so nutty. Pun intended. Keep in mind. I died laughing. I mean, if you guys have already seen this movie like 30 years ago, and yes, that's how old this movie is, you would have known how dang hilarious this is. I mean, this sort of like... This is... I did mention a few minutes ago that this is like a remake to the original Nutty Professor movie starring Jerry Lewis, but with a lot more hilariously bonkers jokes to go along. Especially the first few minutes where all the teachers and students get frightened by a herd of hamsters that were running loose in the university. Yeah, let's just say that Sherman Klump's big buddy accidentally left cages open by accidentally activating a switch. Oh boy. And let's just say that after... I'm sorry, I'm still trying to get over the fact that this movie is just so dang hilarious. And I guess I still got a lot of laughs and giggles out of me. I mean, that I need to get out. I swear, I think any movie does a fantastic job playing Sherman Klump in this movie. I mean, I'm sure that Eddie Murphy and the rest of the cast and crew might have studied the Jerry Lewis version at some point while working on this movie, which is totally understandable. I can't think of anybody else but Eddie Murphy to play the role. Although I can almost imagine either Kevin Hart or Chris Rock playing the role of Sherman Klump. I mean, no disrespect to Eddie Murphy. I'm not saying he did a bad job. He did a good job playing this movie, but just imagine if Kevin Hart or Chris Rock... Just imagine if Kevin Hart, Chris Tucker, or somebody else playing the role of Sherman Klump. Just saying. And you gotta give the film credit for having Eddie Murphy play the rest of Sherman Klump's family. I mean, you couldn't even tell it's the same actor playing all 6 parts. Yeah, he plays Sherman Klump, his father, his mom, his brother, and grandmother. He was really dedicated to his role to play all 6 family members. Except for the little kid, because I think that was played by an actual kid and not Eddie Murphy himself. And I'm guessing behind the scenes, it probably wasn't easy for Eddie Murphy to do multiple roles. But you still gotta give the guy credit for at least trying to play all the roles in this movie. I actually like how when later on in the movie when Sherman Klump became the suave buddy love, he starts heckling. He starts to heckle the daylights out of the comedian who heckled him the other night as Sherman Klump. And let's just say he got his sweet revenge. He got his sweet revenge on the comedian played by Dave Chappelle. And for some reason, Dave Chappelle's name sounds familiar to me. But man, I can't think of any other movie or TV show he was in before and after working on The Nutty Professor. So you guys might want to help me in the comments below. But trust me, seeing Buddy Love heckle the hell out of that comedian, whose name was Reggie, by the way, Man, did I die laughing. And man, I haven't seen somebody heckle the daylights out of somebody since Stanley and Waldorf were trying to heckle poor Fozzie Bear, for example, from the Muppets. It was like one of the most funniest revenges I've ever seen in my life. But yeah, this movie is sort of going on. It's sort of paying tribute to the classic Jekyll and Hyde story. And if you guys have seen any type of version of Jekyll and Hyde over the past few years or something, you pretty much know what I mean. I mean, you can almost see the similarities between the Nutty Professor and Jekyll and Hyde, but they're not completely the same, because while Jekyll and Hyde sort of lean towards horror, the Nutty Professor is sort of like, let's just say, more of a comical spoof on Jekyll and Hyde. Which I know you guys have got pointed out in the comments below that it might be a bit of a stretch for the Nutty Professor to be like a spoof on Jekyll and Hyde, and how it would seem completely far-fetched. Which I guess I could totally understand what you guys are telling me, since it would be pretty far-fetched if the Nutty Professor was originally going to be like some kind of Jekyll and Hyde type spoof. And I'm starting to realize that everything I'm saying right now is a little bit redundant. But at least you guys know what I'm trying to explain here. But there's no denying how hilarious this movie is. And during the big climax, everyone's at this dinner party to celebrate Betty Love's formula, which he took credit for, which he pretty much stole from Sherman Klump himself, since they were technically the same person. And let's just say that Sherman Klump and Buddy Love will get into a bit of a fight between themselves, since they are technically one and the same. It was kind of funny seeing Sherman Klump literally argue with himself. I mean, I've heard of having a splitting personality before, but this is just ridiculous, and it's literally and it literally takes the cake too. And again, it does show how daggum hilarious the Nutty Professor really is. Now, I have been familiar with Eddie Murphy's film career for a while now. Since you guys already know him as the voice of Shrek the voice of Donkey from the Shrek franchise. Sorry that I got the names mixed up. Oh dear. And he was also considered to voice Hong Kong Phooey in the 2011 live-action movie, which is now lost to media. And I'm not sure if the test footage for the movie is still found online or not. But I do know that Eddie Murphy did attempt to voice Hong Kong Phooey in the 2011 live-action movie at some point 15 years ago. But I assume some of you guys probably didn't know that, or probably having your minds blown about this. So it proves that I am familiar with his role. And I think I even watched this movie, Beverly Hills Cop, on Tubi a while back. So that's another movie I have seen before. So anyways, I really enjoyed watching The Nutty Professor. And I almost forgot how hilarious this movie is, since it has been a very long time since I've seen this movie. I think this used to be on Netflix at some point. Maybe it did and I just forgot. But anyways, thank you guys so much for checking out this review of The Nutty Professor. it really feels great to rewatch this movie again for the first time in who knows how long. And I guess it makes sense to do this review since the movie has turned 30 years old. And it's quite interesting that the first Space Jam movie is also 30 years old this year. Pretty cool, huh?